This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period.
Okay, so that's a bit of a throwback for you of Sean Spicer blatantly lying about the crowd at Donald Trump's inauguration. It was not as big as they were saying, but that was just the first taste of what would become a genre of lies on the right. They have to lie to stroke Donald Trump's ego. And Eric Trump, being his son, knows that better than most. Here he is lying about this weekend's rally.
And when you see Wildwood on Saturday, where he has 100,000 people show up, 100,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruce Springsteen can't pull half of that amount,
Don't steal our thunder. We're getting into
trying not to, but I'm excited about this.
Okay, so I understand that if you're like, them lying about the crowd size is not very important. You are objectively right. It is not one of the most important lies. But I would argue that because it's not an important thing to lie about, lying so hardcore about it seems even weirder than lying about important things. So here is the weird, surreal thing that I see when I look at that video. Eric Trump and Laura Ingraham, neither of them think that anywhere near 100,000 people were there. But they both have to lie about it for different reasons. Eric Trump is desperately, in a futile sense, trying to get his father to love him. And he knows his father is so shallow, so vain, so empty, that the way to get his approval is to tell him lies that make him feel popular. Can you imagine if it ever dawned on Donald Trump that that's how his son sees him? That his son realizes what a tiny little baby boy he is? And Eric Trump does, so he's telling the lie. And then you have Laura Ingraham, who's hearing it and knows that that's a thing they're gonna talk about. She's literally previewing a segment they're gonna do. She knows nothing like 100,000 people were there, but she also knows that if she corrects him, she will likely lose her job. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Listen, in order for the Damage Report to keep on going, we need viewers like you to become a member on YouTube. Can you click the join button on YouTube today? Thank you. The MAGA world will turn on her. That will be it for her. Even though everyone in the crowd, like you can look at the pictures, there weren't 100,000 people, but we all have to participate in a collective delusion because that's what Donald Trump is. It's Kim Jong-il stuff. That's all it is.
Yeah,
it's North Korean dictator stuff.
Yes.
And we'll get to other examples of this, but what do you make of that?
I mean, I think the Trump family has been lying about sizes for probably their whole lives, but that's a side note. I think it's hilarious that he brought up Bruce Springsteen. Like, what is it, 1984? Like, you couldn't bring him more. I love Bruce Springsteen,
Taylor
but
Swift.
I just, right? Something current? I don't understand. Yeah, come on, Laura, don't steal our thunder. That's my talking point in 5 minutes. So hilarious to me, but the lies, the fact that they lie about something that's so easily disproven is really the concern. Yeah. Because if you're so ready to lie about something that could be disproven factually immediately, like that's why it's the Kim Jong-un stuff. It's bringing in fake fans. I call them fans. We already documented there were ads to bring in actors to come into some of these rallies to fill in the seats. We've seen this. So even if there were 100,000, which there clearly were not, we know that even can be manipulated. So I think it's very telling when liars lie about stuff that can be easily disproven. And we see that people who are compulsive liars, they do it all the time. Yeah, I'm wearing a blue shirt. You're not wearing a blue shirt, but then they'll try to and Eric is not that good at it. Yet he wants to think that he can compete with these gaslighters that he's been around his whole life. And he's just, maybe a little too much of the fried his brain.
Well, I agree.
Allegedly.
He does need to compete because they're all doing it. Like Laura Ingram's doing it, and he has to do it, and Roger Stone has to tweet out a photo of this is the crowd in New Jersey. You can see it's a lot of people, admittedly.
And it was an actual crowd from The Boss, 1987.
This was actually Rod Stewart, 1994 in Brazil. And now when he was criticized for this, he says liberals have no sense of humor. Yeah, I know. Well, it was really funny, admittedly, Roger Stone. You're a natural comic talent. But the Trump is saying that that's what the crowd was like, and that's what all the defenders are saying the crowd was like. So there's a joke here, Roger Stone, but it's you. It's not the photo. It's you and your movement. And you said, that it's when people are telling lies, they're so easily disproven. Look, I would make the case. I think that's always been one of the fundamental tools of the MAGA movement. It's a way that you enforce conformity. is you get people to say things that are obviously not true. They participate in, again, a collective delusion, and they get so invested in it. And this sort of like, it's again, like when I reference like North Korean dictator, it's always been a thing of fascist regimes to mythologize and come up with a fantasy rather than reality. And I would also argue, it feels to me like all this, like the lies about the crowd size now, the lies about the crowd size back in inauguration, all the lies he's ever told about his career, it feels like scam emails. You know, like people say like, why are the scam emails always filled with typos? And then you find out it's actually a weeding technique. You do that so that the only people that respond to it are people who have no critical thinking skills whatsoever. Because if you made it a very convincing email, then a lot of people might start to talk to you as a scam artist, and then it turns out that they eventually get wise to the fact that it's a scam. Maga has weeded all of that out by being so ridiculous and so obviously false that once you get in there, you'll accept anything. You've self-selected for having no ability to discern fact from fiction anymore. And then you have layered on top of that the media class and the Trump family that all have to pretend to believe all of this to stay in Donald Trump's good graces. And I would just like, the last thing I want to say about this is like, I try to come up with like an example of my father, who regrettably I lost many, many years ago. He obviously was not a politician. He didn't give speeches or anything like this. But like my father liked to fish. Okay, he was a fisherman. Like imagine if I knew that like he had caught a fish that was like this, but the only way that he would like hug me is if I told the dinner table that he got 10 fish that were like this. And that was the relationship we had. I would tell lies that I know aren't true so that he would briefly love me. That would be so deeply depressing and pathetic. And
it's actually child abuse.
Eric Trump has that, except there's also the political
child
side
abuse.
of it. Yeah, I hate it. I hate it. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?